Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning back in. I got a subscriber question about team tournaments and what are things that they can do as a team on the water that will improve their performance in team tournaments. And I got to tell you, this is a great topic for an episode of 5 things that you need to know about tournament fishing, team tournament fishing that will make you a better team on the water and produce better results for you. I mean, a lot of you may know or may not know, I have fished a ton of team events in my career. I mean, really, before I started fishing at the professional level, primarily all I did were team events. And that's pretty much because that's all we have up here in the upper Midwest. If it's not a Bass Federation or Bass Nation event, there isn't much to fish. There's the BFLs. There are a couple of other individual tournament series now, but they weren't really around when I was fishing tournaments in the upper Midwest. So I've got a ton of experience fishing team events, and there's a lot of things that I've seen from fishing on the professional side and being paired with co-anglers who have taught me a lot that I've been able to utilize in team events. I love team events. I think it is so much fun to be able to fish with a good friend and have good days on the water. And even on those bad days, you're out fishing with a buddy. So it shouldn't be stressful. Like, it's a fun event. And there are things that I see routinely that teams do that are mistakes, in my opinion, as well as things that I said that I've learned from fishing professional stuff and having co-anglers in my boat that I've been able to apply. So for you guys out there, I've got 5 things that you really should try to do in team events that will make you a better team. Before I get into it, I just want to remind you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. It gets you entered into my monthly prize drawing giveaways, so there's no reason not to subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Lastly, if you're looking for tackle, go into my description, click on the link to therealshot.com. It's a great tackle shop, hunting store, outdoor store. Buy your stuff there. Use the discount code STEPHAN10 to get 10% off your order. It helps support the channel. It's very much appreciated. Okay, today's topic, 5 things you need to know about team tournament fishing that will make you a better team on the water. First, number 1 thing, and these are really in no order, but this one's pretty important. Don't fish side by side on the front of the deck. If you absolutely have to, it's okay. And what I mean by have to is, if you're hugging the bank and you've got that much room between the wall and the boat, and the guy in the back of the boat can't cast to the bank, and you're in 100 feet of water off the other side, maybe you can't do it. But in 95% of situations, you're better off to have one guy up running the front of the boat, one guy in the back of the boat. And there's several reasons for this. First, you get different casting angles. So if you have different casting angles, you're going to be presenting your bait in different manners, which gives the fish a different look at that bait or different baits or whatever baits you're throwing. The guy in the front of the boat may not trigger the fish, and the guy in the back of the boat may trigger it because they presented the bait in a different manner. That's one reason. Another reason, you're not up there bumping shoulders, getting in each other's way. It's much more freeing to fish to have guys who are, separated by 20 feet. It gives them more flexibility to make the casts that they need, which makes them present the bait better. It also allows both guys just to be able to freely cast to wherever they want to cast. Remember, it's a team event, guys. It doesn't matter if one guy in the boat catches all your fish. It doesn't matter. You're a team. There are way too many teams out there that are like, well, he caught 3 and I caught 3 today too, so it was even. It doesn't matter. It's a team event. Whoever catches the 5 biggest fish is what matters that day. So if one guy in the back of the boat fishes in the back of the boat all day and he catches one fish because he's got different angles, that one fish could take you from no check to first place. So don't think that you have to fish side by side. In my opinion, you're really hurting yourself by doing that. So that's the first thing. The next thing, don't use the exact same bait. Ideally, you want to have one guy fishing one bait, another guy fishing something completely different. So if the guy in the front's power fishing, the guy in the back should be finesse fishing. If the guy in the front is throwing a bottom bait, the guy in the back should be throwing a top water. That type of stuff. Again, it's all about presenting your bait to as many fish as possible, but giving them a different look. Sometimes you will trigger a fish to bite a different bait, just like you will with different casting angles. So if you've got a fish that wants a top water, he may not want the bottom bait, but he may hit the top water. If you're both throwing a bottom bait, you're not going to come across that fish or put that fish in the boat. So you want to utilize the fact that you're a team to present as many different presentations to the fish as possible. If you've really got a bait dialed in, then I suggest at least throwing different colors. Again, you just don't want to be using the exact same bait because there are lots of fish that don't care about that bait, but they'll hit something else. So there really are very few presentations or very few times when both guys should be throwing the exact same bait in the exact same color. So at a minimum, throw different colors. But ideally, you want to be throwing completely different bait choices. So that's the second thing. The third thing, the guy in the back, there should be one guy, normally the guy in the back of the boat, that's kind of, I like to call like a loose cannon when it comes to casting. They should not always be casting to the prime targets where the guy in the front of the boat is generally going to be casting to the prime targets because he's first in line, right? So you want to, the guy in the front should be throwing to the high target, the high percentage targets, just because they're closer to the object. They're, not going to spook it because they're closer. It works out better that way. The guy in the back of the boat should take advantage of the fact that he's got full freedom to cast wherever. So some things I like to recommend. Cast to the, if you're fishing the bank, one guy should occasionally cast out to the opposite side because there are times the fish are pulled off the bank and they're sitting out a little deeper. You may run into a suspended fish. It's just one of those things. Make a cast out back. The second thing is the guy in the back of the boat ideally should be keeping his eye on the electronics. In my case, we like to always have the side scanning technology going. So the guy in the back of the boat's keeping an eye on it. So if there's a random stump or a random little ledge or a random rock, that guy can fire a cast off there, even though it may not be a high percentage spot or it may be just on a whim. That's still a different presentation, and you're allowing the guy in the front of the boat to concentrate on the best stuff. But the guy in the back of the boat has a good shot at catching a fish that you would not have caught had you were just only fishing the primary targets. So because you've got two people on a boat, you have the luxury of having one guy kind of, be a freewheeling caster and cast wherever. He should take advantage of that because I've had lots of experiences where a random cast off the back of the boat or off the other side of the boat has turned a bad day into a great day where it's won tournaments. So you got to take advantage of the fact there's two guys fishing and it's a team. So if one guy wastes a cast or what would be normally considered a wasted cast, every once in a while, it's still to the team's advantage because it could turn into the jackpot. I mean, it could really win the tournament for you. So I would highly recommend that. Fourth thing, if one guy hooks up with a fish and it's, not right next to the boat, the other guy should take a rod and cast behind that fish too. It's just a good practice to do because in a lot of instances, there's another fish with the fish that's hooked up. It works fantastically with smallmouth and spotted bass, but I've had a lot of really good experiences with largemouth too. So it's just good practice to get into. If one guy hooks up and he's a decent ways away from the boat, where you do not immediately need to, get the net or help land that fish, make a cast in that direction. I mean, don't get caught up in the line and the fish. But if you can get a cast into that general area, you'll double up more times than you would expect. So it's good practice to do. The fifth thing has to go with what I just said. If you hook up, you make the cast. If you have the chance to make the cast, the next thing you do is you grab the net. As soon as that fish is getting close to the point where that, he can be landed, whether it's netted or if you need to help the other individual land it because you're not allowed to use nets, you need to be there and ready for that fish ahead of time. Don't wait until you see the size of the fish to grab the net. I cannot tell you the number of times I've seen on TV or I've seen where people, are just like, oh, it's a small one. And it comes up and jumps next to the boat and it's like a 5-pounder. It just, they had no clue. The fish gets off because nobody was ready to land that fish. So you want to treat each fish as if it's a good one. And the guy who's not hooked up better be ready with the net, because there's no excuses to have a fish jump and get off by the side of the boat when one guy should have had the net ready. So you want to be prepared. And when you're netting, guys, don't hold the rod in one hand and the net in the other. Put your rod down, net the fish with two hands, get that fish in the boat. It's one thing, like I said, if you throw out there and you hook up with a fish 30, 40, 50 feet from the boat and it's on light line, you've got time to cast the bait behind it. Work it a little bit, put the rod down. Now the fish is getting close to net range, grab the net, be ready, net the fish. You really don't want to miss out on a big fish because the guy, your team partner, was not ready, or you told him it was a little fish and not to pay attention. It's just a simple thing to do. It's worth getting ready and putting the net down once you find out it's 12-inch or you don't need the net for whatever reason. So those are 5 things that I have learned from team events and fishing at the professional level that will make you better team tournament anglers, guys. So utilize them, cash more checks because of it, and stay tuned. We got new tips and tricks that come out on a daily basis. Thanks for watching.